Hello and welcome. In this video, we will have the opportunity to discuss financing a cooperative. You have already, or you are in the process of starting your cooperative. But how do you get the money together to make your cooperative happen? As a group, you will find that you have more opportunities than you think to finance your cooperative. Mr. Ian Schuin from Learners Lawyers sat down with us to discuss opportunities for groups, like yours, to raise money and start their cooperative.
Now, how do you raise money as a co-op? Now, you can go to your traditional sources, which are your bank, your BDC and whatnot, but you can also do it while you're as an offering statement. Now, each province has its own cooperative legislation, and there's also legislation under the Federal Cooperative Corporations Act. But the offering statement is actually I say it's unique. Manitoba has an equivalent, but that's it. These are the only two. So basically, this is the section of the act is that you have a limitation to basically say you can't sell shares of your co-op if you are more than the prescribed number of shareholders, unless you meet an exemption, or if you get your offering statement approved by the Financial Services Regulatory Authority of Ontario, which is called FSRA, it's commonly known. And securities is defined to mean both shares and debt. So that would be, the shares would be fine, the debt would also be, that's your loan capital cooperative. So it would apply to both. The interesting thing is you'll note that I've said the prescribed number of security holders is 35. So in theory, you can raise an infinite amount of money from 35 people or less without having to have an offering statement, which is a tremendous benefit in raising capital. If you've got those kind of people out there who have money, who want to invest in a cooperative, because if you're a Business Corporations Act corporation, the limit for this is 50, and if you go above 50 and you can't find an exemption, you have to file a prospectus, which can cost a small fortune. There's continuous disclosure obligations. To get your offering statement, it's the same level of disclosure as you would have under a prospectus under the Ontario Securities Act, full, plain, and true disclosure of all material facts. It is, however, based in my experience, a more simplified process because the people at FSRA only deal with cooperatives, and it seems it's just a kinder, gentler approach that they seem to have to raising capital. So if you go over the $200,000 limit, it seems to be easier. It's a bit more cost effective. However, there are these continuous disclosure obligations. So your offering statement, if you do get it receipted, is valid for a year. And you must file what's called the statement of material change if the facts in the offering statement change. So if things are not going as well. And you can file a new offering statement each and every year. So what makes a co-op unique? And when I say unique, the business enterprise that most people are aware of is your for-profit Business Corporations Act corporation. So in my mind, there's really three key differences. And the first is the way members vote. So it doesn't matter how much skin you've got in the game, it's one member, one vote. And if you want your vote to count, you have to show up at the annual general meeting because you can't vote by proxy. The second is the way money's raised. So a co-op can go out and they can go to a bank or they can go to the BDC and some of the traditional ways to try and fund their operations and raise money to buy a business. But one of the unique ways that it is a unique way, and it's really not available to any other business enterprise, is what's called an offering statement. It is a way that they can raise money. It's outside of a specific exemption from the Securities Commission, so you don't have to worry about going to the Ontario Securities Commission to get your project funded, and is quite beneficial. And the third way is the way profits are distributed to the members. And everyone has heard about dividends. The Royal Bank of Canada gives dividends to its shareholders. But what's unique about a co-op is a co-op can issue what's called patronage. And patronage is basically the more business you do with the co-op, the more you give back. So in other words, telecommunications co-ops There's about 7 independent phone cooperatives in Ontario, and they basically issue patronage pretty much every year to their members, and literally it's close to about a month free they get back how much they use their phone. So the more you use, that's the idea, the more you'll get back in patronage. That's the principle. So this is a distribution. So this just outlines how property is to be distributed. So it's a certain priority that gets distributed. You'll see patronage is there. You can issue dividends in excess of the prescribed rate for pref shares, which is in excess of 2%. And there are special rules on patronage for worker co-ops. So worker co-ops you can have the patronage paid to members either for hours worked or what their compensation is. So kind of a different approach there. So the structure. Now this is another thing that a co-op is very different from a standard traditional business. It can actually be incorporated with or without share capital. And you're probably going, well, if you have shares, how do you do that? That's a bit of a mind bender. So basically this would be the co-op would find its capital through government grants, funders, or borrowing from members. And the member borrowing is usually the way I've seen it. It's not very common anymore. It's done, but not as common as it used to be. Basically, you have what's called a mandatory member loan. So you have to put in a certain amount of money for a certain prescribed period of time. And then you would also have these debt instruments that would be issued as well. And they can be for differing or higher rates of interest than would be the government mandated, which is currently prime plus 2. So it's like an investment grade that you would have for a loan. What's much more common is what's called a share capital co-op. And those co-ops offer membership shares and preference shares. So the membership shares basically are normally issued for nominal consideration, and they just give you your right to vote. And only members hold membership shares, but preference shares can be held by members, but people who also want to invest in the enterprise as well. They decide they don't necessarily want to become a member, but if, for example, the enterprise is offering a reasonable rate of return, they may want to invest in that. So if you're wanting to start a co-op to purchase something, you may find that outside investors would be interested in purchasing preferred shares. One of the interesting things is that co-ops, unlike Business Corporations Act corporations, the shares are issued for par value, which means if you buy one preferred share and the price is $100, it's worth $100. The idea there is that with Business Corporations Act corporations, the idea is people want to increase their share value so that they can sell it down the road and make a lot of money. That's the big difference with a co-op. A co-op is there for sustainability. So the idea is people are not into the co-op is there, so it remains there. You're not there going to become rich with your shares. You just want to, in fact, make sure that the co-op's there to provide the service that you're looking for.
Well, there you are. I'd like to thank Mr. Schuin and Learners Lawyers for sitting down with us today to chat about cooperative financing. As you can see, there are plenty of opportunities out there for you to gain access for financing of your cooperative. It is all about a group of people getting together to get their money to work to create the community that they want. If you require additional resources or more information, please feel free to visit our website, ontario.coop. That's ontario.coop. We wish you all the best in developing your cooperative community. Thank you.